Hey, okay, welcome back. So in this one, this is, as I said, if you watch my earlier video, I'm going to start basically divulging the information that's inside my head out to you, whoever you is, if you're, hopefully you're listening or paying attention or watching, whatever. This is part one, my core beliefs, basically, and I'm going to try and get it so that my face doesn't keep falling off the side, but I make no promises. Core beliefs is part one. Section one, what marketing really is, or at least my definition of what marketing really is. And I'd like to start with my original definition, which came from Claude Hopkins, where he said marketing is salesmanship in print. And that came from his scientific advertising book. Highly recommend you check it out if you get a chance. Um, but I think it's more than that. It's a little more nuanced. You know, he had more he things like say things like urgency and stuff like that. But to me, I think it takes it a further step. And the reason why is if you were to ask me what salesmanship is, I think that is another step to this. And that's where most people get this wrong. I've run across a lot of people who go, oh, salesmanship is just showing people what I have and them buying it. And if you've ever dealt with a salesman before, that is not the case. Especially if you've ever been sold or if you feel like you're being sold, that is either good salesmanship or bad salesmanship or lack thereof, right? If they remove it altogether. But usually that's not a good thing. And the reason why I say that is, to me, most people sort of live their life on blah. It's sort of like going through your day and your whole life is static. There's nothing exciting. There's nothing detrimental. It's just kind of this sort of annoying buzz, and that's you going through your life. It's kind of traumatic, actually. Another take on it, I think that I really like, is Dan Kennedy said that people walk around with their umbilical cord in their hand looking for the next place to plug it in, which I think has to do with people wanting to be taken care of, and I think that's a different need altogether. But the reason why I say this is selling was something that I at first was like, no, I don't want to sell, until I realized that in order to get good at marketing, I had to learn how to sell, and that selling inherently isn't a bad thing. Although there are a lot of crappy people out there that will sell you plenty of stuff and have no intention of ever actually following through. They just want to make a sale, right? There's plenty of those people. But to me, selling, I forget where I heard it, and feel free, somebody can let me know. But selling is transference of emotion, right? So and this comes across where people buy stuff, but they don't know why. They're just really excited to get it. Another way to look at this, so most people be like, oh, I've never been so excited just to have a thing without knowing it. What I would say is if you ever thought about something, but then you had a friend recommend it, so say it's a movie, a show, a book, or whatever, and they say, I can't really describe it, but you should get it because it's really good. And you go, oh, okay. And then you go and you check it out. Why? That's just emotion. There is no reason for you to get it or check it out or observe it besides your friend's positive emotion about it and your desire to have that positive emotion too. Oh, it's good. Well, I want to have a good experience. I want to have fun. I want to be scared, or I want to, you know what I mean? Like that's that. So marketing in that sense is a transference of emotion in print or in video or whatever. And in the old days it was print, right? But it's now a one to many kind of thing. And this is where the lines get a little blurry. And this is why I'm spending a bit of time on this. And even though this might seem basic for some of you, I want you to understand where I come from when I'm looking at marketing and things like that. Is there, if you've ever seen a good salesman, they don't take the same approach with every person. And the reason for that is because every person has a slightly different need or want or reason for wanting whatever it is they're selling. And if you use the same exact reason why they should get it, it's going to fall flat most of the time. What I like to think of is, if you've ever watched Family Guy, there's an episode where Brian is like a car salesman, and it's sort of this tongue-in-cheek way of like every person he's making all these sales, another salesman's taking credit. He's making all these sales, and if you watch him, he keeps changing like his persona slightly to match the people coming in. Try to match their ethnicity, match their desire, match what they're looking like, because he's trying to in his own way. I mean, it's like tongue-in-cheek way of like, oh, if he looks like them, they're more likely to buy from him. And while that is true, it's more like it is a, like I said, that's sort of a far-fetched reasoning of the same thing. You're trying to identify with what the person may want or need and meet them at their level. And that makes them more willing to listen to you. And if they're more willing to listen to you, they're more willing to take your advice. This is why a lot of times straight tech or science stuff just doesn't do well, because it's too scientific. There's no emotion. There's too much logic. And if it's too logical, people will understand the reason why they should get something, but they won't get it because the emotion wasn't there for the reason why they should get it right now. Think of the phrase FOMO, fear of missing out. Why? What does that have to do with logic? Having a fear, so that's emotion, of missing out on what? Missing out on that hype, missing out on that emotional ride, that first step, the thing everybody else is enjoying. I don't want to miss out on that. They don't even know what it is. They just don't want to have the fear of missing the emotion. It's a fun little phrase, FOMO, right? And I'm sure you've heard it. I've seen it around a couple of times. But that's the same thing. And most business owners that I've seen struggle with sales or marketing or whatever is they ignore this. They're like, well, it has nothing to do with emotion. It has to do with, tying shoes or something like that. And it's like, okay, but if you don't understand why the emotional appeal needs to be there, you're always going to struggle. And that's sort of how I define marketing. It's a transference of emotion on a one-to-many scale, whether it's in print or video or however. And that's sort of how I would define marketing. Now, from that, I'm going to go into, more differences and things like that. But if I were to, in one sentence, define it, that's how I would look at it. And I would recommend you sort of look at your marketing and ask yourself the same question. Is your marketing messaging that you're putting out, is it too logical? Is it too scientific? Is it too, this is why I'm so amazing, or this is why this product is so great, instead of trying to get to the emotional reason why somebody may want whatever it is you have. And if you can't think of that, usually what I say is there's a couple different ways you can look at it that I'll get into later. But a lot of times what I'll say is what is the emotion the person's either trying to have or avoid by getting your product or something like that. There's usually something. And it could be for anything. You know what I mean? Sometimes people are like, well, what does buying candy bar have to do with it? Well, that's satiating, a desire to have something tasty, right? Now, like I said, there's more I can go into, but I want you to really think about that and think about how that applies to the messages you're putting out, how you're communicating with people, and you might get some understanding as to what's going on with your marketing itself. Anyway, that's the end of the first part of Section 1, my core beliefs. I hope that gives you some help, or it gives you base understanding of where I think you should start, where you should come from, and more is to come, more videos to come. And thanks for watching.